Bonjour, Cordia. Hi, everybody. Eimear Burke here. Welcome to another Fireside Chat, and this is Fireside Chat 196, brought to you by the Order of Bards, Ovates, and Druids. And as is customary, I start with a prayer for peace. Gomara Shiacon ar fud na crinne. Gomara Shiacon in our Jaili agus in our Jirha. Gnairi Lin Lena Cuid Garamacha. Gamwich Buikas Jeev, Jeha Chivdaga, Spirit Chivdaga. May peace prevail on earth. May peace prevail in our homes and in our countries. May our missions be accomplished. We thank you, guardian spirits and guardian deities, for peace. As the fever of day calms towards twilight, may all that is strained in us come to ease. We pray for all who suffered violence today. May an unexpected serenity surprise them. For those who risk their lives each day for peace, may their hearts glimpse providence at the heart of history. That those who make riches from violence and war might hear in their dreams the cries of the lost. That we might see, through our fear of each other, a new vision to heal our fatal attraction to aggression. That those who enjoy the privilege of peace might not forget their tormented brothers and sisters. That the wolf might lie down with the lamb, that our swords be beaten into plowshares, and no hurt or harm be done anywhere along the holy mountain, with thanks to John O'Donoghue. So you're all very, very welcome, and let me see where you're all from. Hi from a very wet South Wales. Well, it's damp here. It's warm, like 10 degrees, 12 degrees, but that kind of damp feeling, miserable grey. Hello from Denmark, Victoria, Canada, deepest, darkest Elmer's End in London. Hi, Ricky. Where are we going? Berlin, lovely. Calgary. What if somebody says? All from the sunny single-digit land of work avoidance in Calgary. Lovely. Southwest Wales. Lovely to see you all. Anyway, you're all very, very welcome. And So we are going to Ireland today. And let me introduce my guest today. It's Deirdre Murphy-Ryan. And, soggy Sligo, Leslie and Kevin. Yeah, well, Ripon in Yorkshire. Beautiful. Wexford. Lovely. Heidenheim, Germany. Beautiful. Okay. So, Deirdre, you're so welcome. So tell people where you are.
Hi, everyone. As Eimear said, my name is Deirdre Murphy, and I come from County Tipperary here in Ireland. In particular, I come from a small little townsland called Carr-Gomm. It's quite close to another small town called Thurles. So thanks for joining.
So what's your landscape like? I mean, speaking as a druid, what's it like?
I am very grateful and very lucky to be, I don't know if I'm a bit of a weirdo, but I absolutely love where I come from. I actually can't imagine living anywhere else. I wouldn't mind a little villa in Barbados, don't get me wrong. But no, Tipperary is, I think it's in my soul. The land I come from is called the Golden Vale, which is kind of, when you look at all kind of hidden messages and clues, I think it's probably because we're very fertile, the land I come from, but I think there's also a lot of deposits of different ores, minerals, golds, silvers. And why I say that is we probably have the biggest demographic of castles, old monasteries in Ireland. Tipperary has the most. And then interestingly, Tipperary has the most per capita, per demographic, of castles and monasteries in nearly all of Europe. So I believe myself that it's probably because we have so many ley lines, and ley lines, I suppose, of old castles and monasteries were built where ley lines kind of intersected like a cross. So ley lines are usually deposits of minerals. So we had one of the biggest mining corporations or mining place in all of Europe called Lachine, and they mined for copper, zinc, and different ores in the town of Thurles for, I'd say, about 10 years, and it was one of the most profitable mines in Europe. This happened back in the 90s, and I suppose when you're a teenager in the 90s, you see that the town was booming. everybody had jobs, the crack was mighty, the pubs were full, everybody seemed kind of happy. But as an adult, as you start getting more into history, the land, you have children, you look at their futures, you realize that it wasn't really a good thing. That basically we need to protect the land for our children, to be honest with you. And I suppose that's going to lead me on to how I became a Druid.
Well, okay, so just to explain, Sean in Calgary says, isn't being a weirdo an OBOD membership requirement? Of course, if not, it helps. But just to come back to, just to elaborate. So in the 90s, everything was great in Thurles. And how did it dawn on you that actually that wasn't so good? So just for people who don't know.
I suppose it didn't dawn on me as a teenager because I was living my best teenager life at the time. It really only, I suppose it hit me like a ton of bricks back in 2000, I think it was 2022. A friend of mine showed me this tiny little snippet in our local newspaper called the Tipperary Star, where they were looking to prospect the land that I'm currently sitting on right now. I actually kind of have it here. They were looking for, they were going to be prospecting under 44 townlands in Tipperary. Then I looked into these townlands and there are actually all those beautiful monasteries, churches, castles that I actually love and adore and I visit frequently. And they were right in under there. So we're talking about from where I live, the most closest one would be Derrynaflan. So people might have heard of the Derrynaflan chalice. So it was one of the most famous hoards that was found in Ireland. It was actually found the year I was born, would you believe, back in 1980. And it was kind of under here, as I said before, mineral-rich land, where all the castles and all the monasteries were. And then we have Leamore Church, Kilcooley Abbey, Holy Cross Abbey, and that's just to name a few. So at this stage of my life, I was a mother of two. And I just realized just how important this land is for my children. And that's actually, sadly to say, when it really dawned on me, just the impact of mining and what it was going to do for my kids' future. Now, I was never, I always wanted peace. I wasn't into wars. I was into the environment, don't get me wrong, but it never really grabbed me as much as it did then. And then kind of stepped back and I thought that if the land here is destroyed, if my kids don't have a future where they're, I don't know, you can't plant, the soil is too bad, we can't grow, the cows are being poisoned because they can't eat the grass. I was like, are my kids, my grandkids going to look back and say, what did you do? And I just couldn't say nothing. Yeah. So I went on a little bit of a crusade and I looked up what exactly the impact mining has on the environment, especially gold mining, which is what they were looking for. And I kind of went on a little bit of a manhunt, really. I got a group of local enthusiasts together and we formed a group called the Eimear. So the Eimear is an old Irish clan from where I come from. The town Thurles is an anglicised version of, like in Irish, it's Thurles Eimear, and that means the clan of the Eimear. And then, because I like history, I knew from history that the Eimear were the only clan in all of Ireland that were able to fight off Strongbow. Or sorry, Cromwell. Get my stuff right here. Cromwell. So basically, Cromwell, as he came and he invaded Ireland, but Thurles was the only place that were able to fight him off. Now he came back again and slaughtered everybody, but that again, I think the Eimear was in my blood. It's in my ancestry. My ancestors were the Eimear. My family are old Thurles people, and we've been here for many generations. I think a couple of 100 years, we can trace it back anyway. So that's why I thought my friends were probably all part of the clan of the Éile at one stage of their lives. So we got together and we decided to form a group called the Éile. And I suppose we went around to politicians and we made a lot of noise for a very long time. And that was back in 2022. Then I kind of went down another rabbit hole and I learned the impact of that big mine I already told you about, Lachine, that was here, and the hidden impact that it had on the land, the community, the waters, the rivers, the soil, and the air. And then I formed into another anti-mining group up in Northern Ireland called Carr-Gomm. And basically then I got to talk to a few hot press reporters. I went around and did a few talks. I did one in Hamilton. I did one in Moylisha. And I just raised awareness for different communities on the impact of mining. Now, in Ireland, you're kind of fighting a losing battle with that because the impact of mining for most people is great because we're getting jobs and all the communities are going to benefit from jobs. And what are you going on about? So it was a hard battle, but yeah, there's no prospecting where I am living so far, and the mine hasn't been reopened where I am so far. So
you were the activists like the Éile, fending off, well, Cromwell for as long as you could. So you're resistors. So actually, your campaign worked in Tipperary.
I don't know if it was me that made it work, or I don't know if it was circumstances that made it work, but it never happened. And
well done.
So I don't think I can take all. Like, I don't think it was me. I don't know. All I know is that it lost a lot of traction over the time that we were giving out about it.
Brilliant, so. Because Pat Booker, who's in Ulster, you know, I remember being involved in a protest in the Sperrins against a gold mine as well, in Northern Ireland during COVID. Actually, she's the community is still fighting to keep the companies at bay. Were you up there at the Sperrins when you went up north?
I was, yeah, and it was actually very sad. To be honest with you, that whole weekend was really, really sad. Everybody was fighting the same battle. And unfortunately, it was all, we call it greenwashing. So it was the sake for the environment. We needed lithium for our kind of electric cars and all this kind of stuff. And to be honest with you, the impact it has on the environment isn't worth what the electric car does for the environment, if you know what I mean. None of it made sense. People were losing their livelihoods. A lot of people are actually getting sick. And that's the harrowing reality of what happens, and it's swept under the carpet here in Ireland. We don't hear a lot about it. If you're in the right channels, or I suppose following the right people, you'd hear about it. But what's really sad is COVID came along, and then nobody wants to know because everybody was so impacted with having to restrict themselves and stay at home and wear masks that this one here giving out about the mining again, it kind of became an annoyance. And it was annoyance, like, how can your child's future be an annoyance? That was where I was thinking, but it was. So the group dwindled over the year, and like, that's nobody's fault. It's just people had so much else going on. So a lot of the time, I have to say, when I was calling into different politicians, I was saying the group, but it was only me and another girl. Wow. But we just made sure that they thought there was a group of people for a while giving out. But I think there was a couple of times there was only two of us. So I suppose it shows that, you know, you can make a difference if it's one, if it's two, if it's 20, if it's a couple of hundred.
I think it's not to fall, it's not to give in. Sean in Calgary has something to say. I think companies would do well to find out where you get your energy and substitute that instead of resource extraction. Nice to have people lighting a fire under these folks. Yeah. So
thank you.
Thanks for that. And then he says, there's currently an ongoing campaign to keep our government in Alberta from mining and tampering with the Rockies because our government seems determined, but folks are putting up a good fight. It's about never giving up. And our, Knockrow, which is, there's, for those of you who don't know, it's this is in South Kilkenny. There's two passage tombs aligned to the winter solstice, one at the sunrise and one at the sunset. And every few years, a wind farm looks for planning permission to put their windmills on the hill where the sun sets and where it would be then coming down onto Knockrow, shining on the passage tomb. And local people get up and they object and they put in submissions and they win. And then it goes down for a while. And then a few years later, up they pop again, maybe moving it 6 inches to the left or the right. I don't know. But the important thing is, my hat off to you, Deirdre, to have that energy. And particularly when you're on your own and there's only a few of you. But it's never give up. Because that's how I met you. Who was it? It was Ag introduced me to you. And then I told you about the parents. Yeah. Isn't that funny?
I messaged you because I thought I was kind of getting a bit antsy, and I was like, well, maybe this lady would have some kind of a religious or spiritual reason why they can't mine under these beautiful places, and that's why I contacted you. Now I had my eye on Obad, don't get me wrong, but that was the initial introduction, and 4 years on, I'm still around. So.
What's interesting that you said there earlier, which I had never made that link, when you were talking, about ley lines and the collection, or for the want of a better word, having seen your moment here, the richness of either precious metals, trace minerals, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Underneath these sacred sites, or sacred sites being built on places that's rich. And I had no idea that Tipperary was the richest per capita in Europe of, castles and monasteries. Wow. That's mind blowing, because I was not aware of that. That is
and
really,
it's the
really
same for the Shield and the Gigs as well. Tipperary has the most amount of Shield and the Gigs in the county than all of Ireland. We have a third of them here.
Well,
and it's the seat of the High Kings as well, when you think of Cashel. So there was something special going on here for sure. And that's why I'm kind of like, I suppose they said that Tipperary, was it Loney Palanet, said that Tipperary was the third most beautiful place to go to. I think that was only released this year. And
oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, Lonely Planet. And I suppose I agree with it. I'm so lucky where I live. I think I live in a trio, like they're all around me, of 6th century monastic sites and churches. So that's pretty special.
You've got Holy Cross.
So I have Holy Cross Abbey, I've Derry na Flan, I've Eimear, and then there's Little Turles just up the road here from me. So I'm blessed. That's where I walk my dogs. And a lot of people would pass these sites and that's just where they walk their dogs every day. I just I can't imagine being anywhere else, to be honest with you. Yeah, I'm a real homebird. So.
And you're not biased. Now, Pat, of course, being from Norton, third most beautiful after County Down and Belfast. Is that it? Is what that book is. Never mind with that. And Karen Sweeney says, your story reminds me of Erin Brockovich. Now, we also did some work with Trebby Johnson's work, building a Radical Joy for Hard Times. Was it 2 years ago? And I asked you about a place that had been injured in the environment. Yeah. Do you want to tell them? Because I mean, that's Erin Brockovich territory now.
I wouldn't have had as much of an impact in the campaign for this place. It's called Ogonish. It's kind of on the border of Limerick and County Clare. But through I suppose, getting to know the anti-mining community, I heard about this place called Ogonish. And I suppose what you could say is it's kind of like a dead zone. The tailing ponds just have this brown, kind of a coppery colored dust. And if the wind blows in a certain direction, it just goes all over the land. There was a time where we were told to keep all our windows closed because the Sahara Desert sands were coming. Now think about it. the Sahara Desert sands coming over to Ireland. I know it's a possibility, but
No,
what
they
happened
do.
was, yeah, but what I heard at the time was it was the sands that were coming from Agonish, and people got eye infections, people got skin infections. It was pretty bad. My own husband got an eye infection. So we kind of looked into Agonish a little bit, and there was a couple of families that kind of lived on the border of where the mining they were mining aluminium, and they had a refining plant for aluminium there. And it was really sad. There was farms that had to just like uproot because their cows were miscarrying all their baby, like when they were pregnant, they were like dying of poison, they were miscarrying. They were born with massive deformities. That's just the animals. They couldn't feed off the grass that was there. They couldn't drink that off the water was there. Then there was another lady, and she basically miscarried many times herself, and her family had to be completely uprooted off the farm. And the amount of cancers, colon cancer especially, was on the rise. Lung cancer, this particular lady can remember having to be brought to hospital because she was just coughing up blood one day. And it's just a no-go zone. Their farm is completely isolated. There's nobody living there. There's nothing there. Again, you do not hear these stories in Ireland unless you go and visit these places. So water's undrinkable. Everybody seems to have Crohn's or IBS in the vicinity.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty horrific, to be honest with you. The thing about when you go down this road, it's actually really, really energetically draining. I haven't really done it, say, in the last year or two. When you go down that rabbit hole, you go down and down and down. And the more you find out, I suppose the little bit crazier you get about it. And my family were, I suppose, saying it was a little bit of a nightmare to live with, because I used to have 3 computers on the go, and I had 3 search engines on the go every evening for months. And I was putting in different words into different search engines, trying to get different files on different minings and different mining companies. And it worked. But the more I found out, I suppose the more I didn't want to know. Yeah. The more you get a little bit fearful for what's to come in the future. And if they're mining everywhere at the moment, and you don't even know it. I have something written here, which I was only reading it yesterday and I forgot. It's like the landowner in Ireland only owns the first 12 inches of their land. Okay, so you think you're owning your fields, you're thinking you're owning your farm, but it's only the first 12 inches of the soil. So everything that is found under that 12 inches of the soil belongs to our government. Is going to be given to a mining company to get really, really rich. So they will give you money, don't get me wrong. They will build a road. They will build a school. What I found when I was researching other mines is they usually built a new GAA pitch or gave money to a school when they really fucked up, basically. So, if they messed up the water table and the locals didn't have water, or if their water was contaminated, if they were told not to drink it, they usually got a GAA pitch. And that keeps a lot of people happy that don't see the bigger picture, basically. And they're very good at doing that. Where I come from, we haven't had the same employment in the town of Thurles since the mining company has left. So I'm sure if there's people from where I suppose family, friends, and all that kind of stuff for watching this, they're going to be fairly peed off at me because a lot of them did work in it. So look, I can't complain. Everybody has to feed their family. I totally get that. But this is what happens. They move into a town. They're really shiny. They give you loads of money. They build you new schools, and they just leave all the crap behind. There's the silver mines is out the road from here. Yeah. My God, I think that's closed down maybe 40, 50 years. I could be wrong with that. But land is still poisoned. The tailings ponds, the wind is still sweeping it all over the place. People are still sick up there. And that's closed a while. So, yeah, this is where I'm coming from. If you are going down that rabbit hole, be prepared. It's going to turn your stomach. So,
wow. I mean, you get a lot of comments here. So Morgan says that sounds so scary, but also so similar. There's so many similar stories of people living near data centers or industrial sites that are supposedly within safe limits all over. And somebody else, Cara says, this reminds me of the AI data centers going up near me. Who's else? She says, I remember visiting the coal mine exhibit at the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago, being extremely sad. It hurts so hard seeing how bad coal mining hurts both the environment and people. And then Sean says, Deirdre referenced the question of a spiritual reasoning for saving nature. The Grail mythos are all about the link between humanity, nature. When the land gets sick, we get sick, for one. Absolutely. But it's just so, so sad. And for those of you who don't know what a GAA pitch is, it's a football pitch. GAA is the Gaelic Athletic Association. Gaelic football is one of our three national sports: hurling, Gaelic football, and handball are our three national sports. Animi says, money-making industry is so incredibly short-sighted. It's like a beast spreading glamour while devouring the land. Absolutely. Yeah. It's just, what is it? Sean says, this is interesting. We get into difficulty one choice of necessity at a time, but we also get out of it. One right choice at a time. Jobs versus mining. Yeah. It's a really, really hard one. So Judith says, deep respect from Vancouver. So Vancouver, WA, USA. I don't know what. So yeah, it takes a lot, and my hat off to you, Deirdre, for doing that. And I suppose, in a sense, it's not happening at the moment, no. Although the land is still living with the fallout from previous mining. But
yeah,
well done anyway. I think a good role model for activism and
look, all I wanted to be able to say is I tried. So
yeah, very, very good. Now, just somebody noticed the Sheila na gigs behind you, and I'm going to let you talk about the Sheila na gigs.
Okay, well, I'm not the expert, but I'll tell you what I know. They're all sculpted by my husband, who is a fanatic, and he has, I suppose, dedicated the last 2.5 years to recreating the Sheila na gigs that are out there and the ones that I suppose that aren't out there. Like I said before, Tipperary has 1/3 of the Sheila na gigs that are in Ireland. You'll find Sheila na gigs in Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and different parts of Europe. They're still being discovered. They're not all yet discovered. So I suppose we could say back in the 1840s to 50s.
Before you start, just describe it. Not everybody will know what a Sheila na gig is. So,
well, basically they are they're very different. They're a depiction of a woman. The woman is the Sheila. Now there is male versions, but we'll just go with the woman first. And usually she has her vulva on show. She can take like a nice female form, or she can actually look alien-like, a little bit scary-like. They're quite different. And actually, sorry now, I'll show you what I mean. One sec. If I drop these, I'm in big trouble. So that is the one that is very female looking, not too scary. Yeah. And then we have this one is not so pretty looking. Yeah, but she still has her vulva there on show. And I suppose they're like medieval mysteries. So back in the 1840s, it was the English decided that they were going to catalogue all the Sheila na gigs, all the antiquities around Ireland. And I know I'm going on about Tipperary again, but my Carr-Gomm, is up the road for me, was basically where the first Sheila na gig was found, was in my Carr-Gomm. And they're popping up everywhere. I think, God, around where I live, there's about 4, 5, 6 And as I said, in Tipperary, I'll be shot now, I should know this, but it has way more. Every town, every village nearly has a Síl na gig. Some people think they're fertility, the divine feminine, feminism. Then other people think they're polarity, because they kind of show, like, the vulva here, but sometimes the hands are up, sometimes they're a little bit down, so it can be polarity. But this is my favorite one. This one is from Redwood Castle. So Redwood Castle is the seat of where the Breton laws were. So the Breton laws were laws that were in Ireland, and basically these laws with the Phelan family. I hope you're wrong. Eimear, help me out here. But basically the Druids, it was the last seat of the Druids that were doing the Breton laws, was here in Redwood Castle. And if you can see right here, there's a massive big ear. It's the only Síl na gig that has the big ear. And look, we can all make interpretations, but I think it's because the Breton laws and Druidry was passed through speaking, so through hourly. So it was like the spoken word. That's how they kind of, they I suppose, learned Druidry, and they spoke the Breton laws. Because for a very long time, as you know, in Druidry, nothing was written down, and it was the same with the Breton laws. So I think that's really cool that that's on the Redwood Castle.
For people to know about it was the legal system. They were written down from the time around Patrick. They were documented.
But I think that originally they were hourly.
Yeah, but everything was oral before we started writing. Yeah. So, but they were documented from around the time of Patrick. They began to be written down. So they're written there for a long time. And I've mentioned them at 2 T's, actually, T's with the Druids. And they were a legal system that, I have Fergus Kelly's book, The Guide to Area Flow here beside me. And, laws on bees, cattle, trees, marriage, property, children, crime, and it's Brehon law. Somebody spelled it incorrectly there. It's Brehon law. And they were quite comprehensive. And they were from, pre-Christian times, going way back, right up to the 1600s. They were replaced by the penal laws, which were imposed on us by the British. So
it wasn't my forte.
So, and Sylvia says, didn't the Druids use Greek language for trade? In Ireland, I wouldn't have thought so. They would have had Irish and probably Latin, the educated ones. We don't know. Maybe Druids in Gaul or other parts of Europe might have. I don't know. So, anyway, so just to mention that place, as you say, the last place where they were using Brehon laws, where was that again?
Redwood Castle.
And where is that? That's in Tipperary. So.
It's not far from Laura, near Portumna. Yeah. It's actually a really lovely place to go visit. There's a lovely lady there that is actually part of the family, the Brehon family. She's obviously generations down, and she's still the custodian of the castle. And if you message her, she'll actually give you a really nice tour. And she'll tell you a lot better than I do. So.
And of course, Laura is a monastic site as well. So very, very interesting. Okay, so how did you find Obod then, Deirdre?
How did I find Obod? Again, it was probably I was definitely seeking for quite a while. I looked into, I suppose you could say, for some reason, Obod was the one that I was least attracted to, but that's in my nature. I'm usually least attracted to the thing that's better for me.
Can you repeat that? Can you repeat that? I just missed it. Just repeat that.
I was looking at different spiritualities for a while, and I came across Obod, and it was the one I was the least attracted to originally. Okay. And that's part of my personality. I usually have to go and kiss a couple of frogs until I find my prince. And yeah, it's all about learning and experience. So it's like I had to go through different things to find what I truly needed and where I truly needed to be. Yeah, I suppose we can go back to maybe I was searching because I suppose I was quite young when both my parents passed away. My mom's gone 25 years and my dad is probably gone 10 years. And I was brought up in a very Catholic family. I'm the daughter of an undertaker. So religion was very big in my household. I don't see that as a bad thing. But obviously, I'm not a practicing Catholic at the moment. I do not see anything wrong with it. I think spirituality is quite important, but I'm just more drawn to Georgia. It's just, yeah, it was always there. So I suppose after my dad died, and I mean this in the most respectful way, you can say these things when your parents are gone quite a while. I got a freedom to explore and to search what was there for me. Like, I didn't feel like I'd be letting anyone down if I wasn't going to mass or looking at the Catholic way. Not that he was a person that would ever be mean or give out, but yeah, it gave me a sense of freedom, a sense of a longing, a want of belonging as well. So that's why I just started looking, I suppose. Yeah, like, I just might have a little bit of a weird story, but a Jehovah Witness came to my door one day and he never came back because I asked him so many questions. He was just like, whoa, because I was just so eager to find something, and I knew there was more. I just knew there was more. When I came to your house after you invited me, when I was looking for a kind of a reason and a clause for the anti-mining thing that was going around me, what made me stay was, for the first time, I think, in my life, I actually felt at home. I always knew I was quirky. I always knew I was a little bit different. I used to get social anxiety when, like, I used to go clubbing. I used to go out to pubs. I used to go on wild sessions with all my friends at the weekend. Don't get me wrong, I had a past. But I never really felt like I fitted in. And I used to get this anxiety in the middle of the night, and I'd be like, I want to go home, I want to go home, I want to go home. And I thought it was me. I thought it was just like I just wasn't fitting in. And then when I came to you, Eimear, it was kind of like I met my kin. People that just made me feel really comfortable, wasn't judgy. It was almost like we were kind of a similar energy. And when you find it, you know it's right, and you just want to keep coming back to it, to be honest with you. And then, yeah, I think I'm not the first person that said that about coming to see Eimear, to be honest with you.
Well, it's not just me. I think people, so, I mean, I think we have a lovely community here, because it's not, for anyone who doesn't know, it's an eclectic group. It's not just OBOD members, but Anita's here. So she said, you're a breath of fresh air. So I think people have found a home in the Grove here, but I think people find that in the Order anyway. It's almost like a cliche. People say, I joined OBOD and I came home. And I mean, cliches are based in reality, I suppose. I felt at home here, and I never thought that, joining an order of Druids based in the UK and going to the UK and actually finding a home there, I never expected that. So it's one of those, and that's the magic. That's the Druid in the Druidry. So for those of you who don't know, Druidry and magic has the same word in Irish. It's Druid. How that happens, and that we have such, a melting pot. Well, I call it a salad of different kinds of people all over the world, from all sorts of backgrounds. As a new member, and I've been practicing paganism for quite some time, I agree the home feeling is really, really. Thank you, Raven. Sean says it's like a tuning fork. You hold one next to one another and it resonates. And in OBOD, there's enough of us where it makes music. I think that actually is quite lovely. I think we do create music. I think we create, and we're not in unison, and that's the beauty of it is that there's a lot of harmony, and then there's discordant tones, which are really important because then they're the crunchy bits, and then you can resolve them with a nice chord. This is for people who are into music, but that makes for magic, and it makes for connection.
And you can actually be yourself, which you don't realize how freeing it is to be yourself. And you don't realize, well, I don't know, maybe not everybody's the same, but I was a Deirdre for every other aspect of where I was, the type of Deirdre that I thought people wanted Deirdre to be. So I was the Deirdre with my family. I was the Deirdre with my group of friends I went out with. And when I came to the Grove, I was just Deirdre.
It's lovely. And we're going to, Pat says we've both harmony and counterpoint. That's it. And Jade says, this is what I'm here for too. Magic, harmonics, and how you just described that. And it's interesting because I think when we join the order, we're raw, not unpolished. And somehow by pursuing the path, we begin to, I'm not talking about definitions, but we begin to find ourselves, or carving is too wrong a thing, because then that's rigid. But we find a place for us to be able to shape ourselves and go with the vessel that we're in, like water. It can change, but we're able to move and go with that flow, and go with counterpoint, go with harmony, go with a bit of discordance, go with a bit of unison. All of that's what the order allows us to do it. And then, of course, if you come and there's a nice community that allows you, because I remember when you sang, and I know you're going to share some poetry. You first said, no, I can't. And that's what's lovely about the order, is that it allows, in the practice, we find the ourselves. Thank you, Sylvia. That's exactly it.
Yep.
And that to be able to, discover our creativity and develop it through our connection with the landscape in which we find ourselves, or the elements, or community, and to find a safe place to express that creativity.
It's so important, is the safe space. And you gave me the time, a lot of time. I was just a mess every time I tried to do something for, I'd say, the first 6 months, or the first 6 times I went there. I think I cried once. And it was just, I hadn't found my voice. I just hadn't found my voice. I think I was with my husband 20 years and he never heard me sing. I put this pretend singing voice on that was absolutely terrible, so he wouldn't actually hear my voice. I think I probably would have rather been naked than sing, because it was just so personal. It was a part of me that I found so difficult to share. And then eventually, when I found it, I think that's the whole bardic journey for me, is to find my voice. And it was profound. It just happened. This whole evolving and confidence and accepting and liking who you are. Like, look, we're the hardest person in the world to like is yourself. But you start getting better at it. You start accepting what you are, being grateful for what you have. And when you start just finding your voice, it's amazing. And then you have singing, you have poetry, you have music.
Beautiful. And Suzanne Thomas, I think it's Suzanne the storyteller. She says, "Oh, what helps you find your voice?" Absolutely. And Jade says, "Wow, that was me too. I couldn't sing," and how false that is. And Drish Munya, feeling safe enough to open up and sing with people is so special. Absolutely. Then, now this is Sean is like, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Okay. Sean's a bit
well, back then was probably right, Sean.
So would you like to share one of your poems with us, Deirdre?
I will. My poems are kind of short, so don't worry about it. I won't bore you or anything.
No apologies necessary.
So first poem I'll read you is called Elemental 7, and it's about myself. Okay, so I'll try and go as slow as I can. Born of a 7, a regorge from heaven, her breath of inception created conception. She must navigate the water, for she is the daughter of the circles and stones and the hills that hide bones. With the wind in her sails, she created fine tales of a day gone before, but her memory did store a craft of magician and a holy position. Then, by day and by night, her heart did ignite to the call of the earth, a form of rebirth. For the earth will remind what is kin, what is kind. She must plant a great seed, she must, to succeed. Look at the roots, the origins, the truths. Just like the inception is to trust without question. Girl, ask the big why to the birds in the sky. Will the story be told of the tales of the old? What is left to unfold? She must fully accept the knowledge and depth of the path she has taken, the claws for her to awaken. Sinead?
Audrey, you've never shared your poetry at our night courts, so now you will. You make your debut, to the whole wide world. Now you can start doing it at Three Castles. That is beautiful. That is lovely.
Thank you.
Well done. Well done. Judith Mackay says, my whole life has been about singing for people and with people and getting people to sing with me and improvising harmony. What bliss. It's lovely. Wonderful. How rhythmic that was. That's from Morgan. That's wonderful. Earth Angel. I don't normally find pleasure from poetry, says Juniper, but this is just perfect and beautiful. Sylvia says, beautiful poem. Thank you, Deirdre. We're daughters of water and the stones. So, well done. Well done. Well done. So we just before we'll end with one, but not now. Anisha says, fabulous. Well done, Deirdre. So there was a question, I don't know, was it about your activism and your druidry? How, I can't find it now. Sorry about that. I hate when I can't find it, find those things. So, okay, so how has you being a druid, how has that influenced your life now? Yes. How does druidry inform your engagement with secular environmentalism? That was from Sean.
Well, God, that's a big question. How did druidry inform my engagement with? What I suppose it's the connection to the land and the connection that I suppose we're in, like in druidry, we're learning about the elements, we're learning about the land, but we're very close to the land. We honor the land, we speak to the land. I even read in a book how we whisper with the land. So you're probably wondering what I'm saying about that is with talking to the wind. So basically when the wind is blowing with your breath, if you do it in a song, it's quite powerful, to be honest with you. But also the use of the Irish language very much connects me to the land. I do believe there's nothing, look, every language is connected to the land, don't get me wrong, but when I'm standing on Ireland and my feet are in Irish soil, I do believe that the land does listen to the Irish language. Now, my activism would be my absolute love for the land that I'm standing on, but the actual knowledge and wisdom that I've gained through connection of the land, through druidry, I suppose ignites my passion even more. I suppose there's a beautiful book from a beautiful man that sadly passed away called Manacon, and isn't it The Land Whispers?
Listen to the land speak. It's
Listen
Moncon
to the land
McGann.
speak. Again, I had it wrong. But yeah, sorry. Yeah, listen to the land speak. Yeah. I mean, if you actually turn off your phone and you listen to the land speak, that's where I'm coming from. It almost whispers. I do this kind of thing when I go for a walk with my dog, and I just see how many times the branches on the trees, when I'm coming up to them, will actually start moving and start shaking and start waving at me. And the more you notice, the more it happens. Now, it can be a little bit quirky, but it truly does whisper and it truly does speak to you. And if you're not going to be a custodian of the land that your feet are on, if you're not willing to be a custodian for the air that your children are breathing, then what are you doing? You're looking at your phone. What use is that going to be when, you can't drink the waters, you can't grow your crops? And I think one is symbiotic of the other, being a druid and being an activist, to be honest with you. I think we're all here for a similar reason, and that is the love of the land and the love of nature. And I think we see divinity in everything.
Mm-hmm.
We have our own little inner spark here, but there's a spark in a tree. There's a spark in a blade of grass, And when you truly see that, and when you truly believe that, I think that's where both of them tie together in a beautiful little marriage. That's just my opinion.
Well, Mimi says your passion for your land is so eloquent. Magical truths, Juniper says. If we have consent culture, then we can seek consent from the land too. Absolutely. Amen and awen. So they were also talking about, getting Moncon's book for their next book club. I was recently standing on a stone circle. I'm now starting Obod and learning Irish. Yes, she calls to us to sing to her. Person turquoise wizard wand. And every spark lost makes the world a bit darker. Very well said. Thank you. So I think you are speaking to the choir here. People are, what you're saying resonates with so many of our viewers here. And it's just beautiful for me, Druidry got me back to the Irish language, and that there is such magic and there's so much knowledge and wisdom in the language. And even people who don't understand Irish, if I'm speaking, will say, I don't know what you were saying, but my God, that made the hair stand on the back of my neck. Suzanne says, when the trees say hello on a walk, that's just so wonderful. There's a tree near here we've called the Whispering Oak, always says hello. That's wonderful.
Lovely.
Oh, brilliant. My cathedral is the tree, said a Buddhist monk. Beautiful. Yeah. And Sean says, preaching to the choir is how you get them to sing. Preach. Okay, beautiful. So do you have another poem that you'd like to share?
Okay. This poem is called Mine is the World, and it's about the world I'm in now, the world I used to live in, the worlds that are around me, that kind of thing. So, okay. Mine was the world where the insanity of humanity stood at the altar and knew not to falter as you watched them sip the wine. Me, trying to unwind the divine that was mine, witnessing the ego of man and how it can look like an imposter with no view to foster the gift that was given to all. Mine was the world where greed was the need in order to succeed, the flash of the cash, the burning of ash, a design for the world to fall. There has to be another way, creation did say, for the gift of life is for all. As time ravishes the urge to be savages, the veil of illusion will fall. She spoke of the word like the wind takes a bird. Humanity is heard once and for all. The suffice of the kingdom, the nyart is the wisdom, the heart is the core of it all. Mine is the world where humanity is heard, the release of the soul from the veil. Through strength of our word, our wishes are heard, a step to the light, from the pale. With prose and the crows, the laughter of those, the essence of love will prevail. The hips and the haws, the four-legged paws, the mountains and rivers will hail. Mine is the world, and haven't you heard? We are divine, and all are the same. That's it.
Wow. Suzanne says, I love the rhyming of your poems, inspired. And then Fusion, because I think quoting you, be a custodian for the air that your children are breathing. Wonderful. And Nimi says, learning Irish is such a deep pleasure. I'm delighted to know you're learning it, Nimi. It's changing the rhythm of my thoughts. That was beautiful. Like the wind takes a bird, exquisite. Another beautiful poem. The beginning was so relatable and the end so hopeful. Poetry gives life to thought. This is lovely. Have you thought about turning it into a song? Lovely poem. We'll have to hear more of that now in Three Castles, because tears, beautiful Deirdre. So you're actually getting people stirred up here. Absolutely exquisite. So, excuse me, you are a dark horse because you have never shared your poetry, just your singing. Oh, wonder. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Love this last poem. Speaks to me on a deeper level. Lovely. Brilliant. So, Deirdre, before we finish, a concern you have about the modern world. You know, the world that we're living in. I had concerns 2 years ago. It's like they've gotten worse in these times. So what concerns you about the modern world right now?
What concerns me, I suppose, because I am a mother of 2 children, is the lack of friends, kids getting together. This is their social interaction. They don't go out and walk the town, go down the park, sit by the river. None of that stuff seems to happen anymore. They're just all talking to each other online. They have online boyfriends and girlfriends. You know, there's no little flutter in the stomach walking down the town, hoping you're going to see a boy for the first time. It's social interaction, I suppose, is my biggest concern. Those little steps of progression that we took as teenagers and as children, like I said, the butterflies in the stomach, you're going to see someone for the first time, you get the first kiss, la-di-la-di-la-da. Now what they're seeing online is quite scary. What they're learning in schools can be a little bit scary as well. So I suppose their innocence is taken off them in a really early age. Most kids have phones now when they're 12, maybe a little bit younger, but it's 12 around here anyway. It's getting younger. I was mortified one day. My kid picked up a menu and he was 3 and he just started doing that because the phone, you know, he's like scrolls. The menu didn't scroll, and I was actually mortified because it just made me see just how much he was looking at my phone. I suppose that's the concern I have. Are we all just going to be looking at screens and not looking at each other, not looking at the sky, not looking at the moon, not looking at the ground, not looking at the earth? So I suppose that's my biggest concern.
Yeah. Wow, that is so scary when you say it like that. I just took my own children, got to phones late. So, and they had no computer, they had no game, what do you call those things? PlayStations when they were children. We were horrible parents. We just took them to Africa and had them out there looking at snakes and things like that. But they didn't get it. And my daughter now would say, who's 24, that she's so grateful that, you know, that she got to technology late enough to have developed an appreciation of. I remember as a little one, she'd say, "Oh, that's a lovely sunset," and I go, "Oh." Those kind of things. And Sean says that stuff, butterflies and human encounters, are like rites of passage that help us make who we are. Absolutely. And Nimi, oh my goodness, Nimi, I'm 56 next week and I've never had a mobile phone and I never will. I don't know how you're managing. My hat off to you. Computer. Wow. But it's so relatable, Morgan. I feel like the lack of places to just exist without spending money and how dangerous the world has become makes screens feel like the only place they can be these days. I remember I was so grateful for the local park in Kilkenny, the Castle Park, after the first lockdown, because I would drop my daughter in to meet her friends. Of course, it was safe because they were outside. And they were so deprived that it was just great that they didn't have to be online anywhere, that they were actually, engaging. And she started going out with her boyfriend then from the park, and how lovely that is. And it's just interesting that you're highlighting that now. That is so bloody sad.
It's really sad. And like, there's loads of kids like my own that are mad to get out in the countryside, but none of the rest of them are too interested in it,
Wow.
So they just talk online, like they won't talk in person. So it's bizarre.
What gives you hope in this modern world, in this crazy time right now? What gives you hope?
What gives me hope is the little eclectic pockets of people like us, and it's like we're growing in size. Like, we're not that weird to other people in society anymore. People are looking more into alternative things, alternative spiritualities, alternative ways of life. I think people are waking up to the doctrination of our governments, some religions, a lot of stuff out there, and they're looking for alternatives. So if we can keep that interest up, I think we have a little bit of a chance. There's, as I called myself earlier, there's a lot of weirdos like us out there. So we can keep growing in numbers. I think that's the hope we need. The people that still want to connect. Yeah.
I think so. I think it's about community, about meeting physically. It's great to have this facility. And I actually get to have conversations with my guests that I wouldn't have, people that I know, because now we have, a 1 hour dedicated hour to do this. But I think it is never to forget the power of physical presence. And Nimi has a question. Do you think the young will suddenly discover the outside and it will become a new big thing?
Well, is it going to take a massive storm, a massive something to cut off the Wi-Fi? I wonder, will they be able to go back to basics? How many 12-year-olds, can light a fire?
Well, I know. Yeah. I think that is up to parents to do that and saying,
it's very important. Basic skills. Schools should be teaching how to grow vegetables, how to sustain ourselves. I mean, what they're teaching in school, really, a lot of it doesn't matter. Let's be honest about it. We need to start just instilling life skills into our kids. We are not only the custodians of the land, but we're just custodians of our future, and the children are our future.
Yeah. So Jade says, as an adult, I awakened to deep gratitude for my hippie mom's choices when I was a kid that I wasn't always grateful for at the time because I was weird, But yes, absolutely. And I think it's those basic skills. Pat says the time is coming when to go outside will be an act of rebelling. Then they will remember. But basic life skills. I remember we noticed this when I worked in Tanzania, that the generation at the time were now, because the ideal was to have a brick house, like concrete block house. With the previous generation, everyone was able to make their own house. It would have been wattle and daub or mud bricks or whatever, but everybody could build their own house. But then that wasn't sophisticated. So as people got sophisticated and better educated, this was the ideal. And then the more sophisticated we become, the more helpless we become, because the more dependent we are on so-called specialists. When you think, Adrienne Pickett, you're up early. Adrienne is a member. She's Spiral Dance from Australia. She says, so lovely hearing such beautiful accents. Welcome, Adrienne. Sean says, my mom pushed me to the Boy Scouts and I'm grateful for it. Absolutely. Make the basics cool again. So Morgan says, love that. We grew up in primary school, but never in secondary, just as it wasn't seen as necessary. How to make bread, how to fish. Absolutely. Just simple things. Well, I think, those, I remember my daughter was, she's still tiny, but she was, like, I'm small. But we taught her how to saw wood at 6 years of age. It was actually a video of her with the sawhorse sawing wood, learning how to light fires, how to use a knife, how to handle a knife safely, doing bushcraft. That was because we were interested in that kind of stuff. But it's up to parents. If schools aren't doing it, do it yourself. But then again, parents need to learn it. But you know what? Big people can learn things. And then they can teach them to other kids. Because it's cool. And I mean, actually, once you get kids, pull them out of the house from away from the screen and put them into a woods, they might whinge and whine. But if actually, after a while, they begin to go, this is nice and cool.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So it's been such a joy, Deirdre, talking to you. And
Thank you.
I'll let you say good night to everybody, or good morning, because Adrian is just up. So, I'll let you say good.
I say good night or good morning. Garb mí mahagat agus níle buchas go agus neart agus cosint de gach duine go léir. Sinné.
Thank you. So she's saying thank you and strength and protection to all of you. So we can look at, I'll let you, don't go away, Deirdre. I'll just send you into the green room and I will say, I'll close off here. Parents must teach children kindness and how to give and receive love. Absolutely. Absolutely. Anyway, I will look at the comments afterwards. So thank you all for joining me this evening and for engaging in the conversation. And I know, as usual, I don't get to read everybody's comments, but it's so lovely to have you here. Anyway, I will be back next week for another Fireside Chat. In the meantime, be well. And so good morning, good afternoon, good night, if you're watching a recording of this chat. This is a chat. Yes, I can mix up with teas now because I'm now doing twos. Take the kids bramble picking, crab apples, fungi. Absolutely. Yes. So anyway, in the meantime, of course, it's okay. In the Southern Hemisphere, there might be things to pick at the moment. It's really miserable. And spring is here in Ireland because I've noticed these clouds of blackthorn flowers. They're like little clouds in the hedgerows. It's absolutely beautiful. And I noticed tiny, tiny, tiny the female flowers on the hazels. So the catkins are out, but you have to look really, really careful. See these tiny red flowers. And I always think it's such magic because I'm looking at a branch, I see nothing. And then suddenly I begin to see a tiny flower. And then I look again and I see another tiny flower. And then they begin to appear. And that's magic. Ah, yes, there's a grand stretch in the evenings. A very Irish thing to say. So until I meet you again next week, slán go fóill.